So Persona, right? 3 specifically. Reload doubly specifically. I picked it up on a sale way back in December of last year, but despite geeking to just start playing the damn thing, I decided to wait until I was done with school so I could have as much free time to play it as possible. This was to be my very first Persona game, despite knowing about the franchise for eons and knowing that it sounded exactly like my kind of game. I'm just a little stupid is all. But only I'm allowed to say that. If I catch any of you hoes saying that, I'm gonna hang you up by your nuts. So anywho, I eventually started playing it in May of this year and finished the game just last month in September. On a blind playthrough, mind you. I didn't want no help, I'm a grown ass nigga. And my god, it was a phenomenal experience. The story, the characters, especially my boy Junpei, that's my dogs right there. The gameplay, the visuals, and dear Lord in heaven, the music. All of it was just absolutely spectacular. There's a reason why I ended my playthrough with 153 hours sank into it, dog. I was zoned in. And cause I rarely if ever back down from normal encounters, the escape button is not an option. And if I'm not tired, I'm clearing the entire floor of enemies before I move on. If the gameplay's fun enough and I'm not going in with the intention to simply level up, I'm more than fine with doing a little grinding in an RPG. So after completing such a beautiful masterpiece of a game, I made a couple tweets about it, which I suppose brought on a couple of tweets about Reload from the depths of the Persona fandom. Finally, I get to share my wonderful experience with a completely new fandom, who surely also adored the thing. I was jovial as hell, my nigga. Emphasis on was, though, cause holy shit. The last time my smile dropped that quickly, I found out my high school crush probably danced with me at prom out of pity. Still got the dance though. I expected joy and merriment when people talked about the game, but I was only met with hatred and vitriol. Apparently, a lot of mans absolutely despise this game, claiming that it takes a wet, steamy ice cream shake dookie on the original, and that it should have never been born. And I gotta be honest, reading the numerous complaints being made, I understood some of them. The most valid of which being the removal of Kotone, the female protagonist of the portable version of the game, and the nonsensical idea of making the episode I Guess DLC only available through the $47 expansion pass. Like nigga, I do not care about these cosmetics that much. I just want more game. But the vast majority of niggas were just yapping, I gotta be honest. Like I knew some bullshittery was going on when they were even saying that the music was ass. I gotta pray to the almighty above for these sinners, cause clearly they were cursed with ears that don't work right. Forgive these poor niggas, dear father, for they know not that they are dumb as fuck. Now, were a lot of the complaints subjective? Yeah, I'd say most complaints tend to be. But I really do think that a lot of people simply hate this game because they like the version of the game that they either played first, grew up with, or both. And as such, no remake would ever be able to make them happy because the charm they felt with the original simply can't be overridden by any new addition. Bars! But my confusion wasn't really with people taking issue with the game or liking the original more. We're all gonna have our own tastes at the end of the day, right? It was just the absolute hatred I saw for it. The way these niggas were talking, you'd think Bubsy 3D just got re-released. Holy shit. The game was absolutely phenomenal, and yet because they have some issues with it, suddenly it's trash that's too dirty to even be stepped on. The older game is clearly superior in every way and can simply never be topped in any criteria ever. And you'd hope that a phenomenon like this was contained to just the fandom. But I think you and I both know that ain't true. Hell, this ain't even just a gaming issue. This happens all across the board. Shows, books, adult films. Why the hell did I write that? Music? Hell, there's probably someone out there that thinks that, hey, can you guys think of an outlandish example for me and just, like, imagine it here? Thanks, gang. Appreciate it. Though for my sake, I'll keep it all relegated to the gaming, anime, and manga spheres, since those are my areas of expertise. And since we're already on the topic, why don't we delve deeper into the lovers of ye olden days, and just why they might act the way they do. Now, there are a few kinds of people that view the olden days as the best days that can never be topped, ever. Some think the culture surrounding media was better, which, like, in some ways they'd be right, but probably not in the ways that many of the people that spout this mantra think. They tend to be a little odd. And others that think the media of today can simply never match the quality and care of the media of ye olde, both new titles and remakes of old ones. The former is a story for another day, if at all. Touching on the culture wars is a heated topic, and I truly don't know if I feel like getting my shit rocked right now. So we'll be focusing on the latter. Those that think this new age can never match the old. But why do they think that? Well, there's actually a plethora of reasons, since this shouldn't be treated as the blanket statement that it almost always is, because inflammatory comments and titles are unfortunately the new wave. Sad times we're living in, gang. The most common reason you see thrown around, because oftentimes it's kinda true, is for the same reason I stated before. That's just what they grew up with, or played first. Nostalgia mixed with the hazy memories of the best parts of what you played, watched, or read when you were younger is a dangerous combo for accuracy, doubly so if these are childhood memories. For example, in recent months, I did a full playthrough of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the first time in maybe a decade and a half, Jesus Christ. And I had a damn good time with it all over again. But I've gotta say, it was just as good as I remember, haha! Yeah, I baited y'all. Go play Sonic Adventure 2 right now. Well, after you finish this video. Go to game! Go to game!
Means something to me, man.
Alright. But in all seriousness, there were some issues I had with it that I either never picked up on as a kid or simply didn't care. And granted, these were rather minor in the grand scheme of things. I still personally love the game essentially the same, but they're issues nonetheless. Like the treasure radar in the treasure hunting stages with Knuckles and Rouge being locked to only showing you when an emerald is nearby in order, rather than it simply showing you whenever you're near any emerald like in Adventure 1. Genuinely baffling decision. Or the sound design of the mech stages. That high-pitched pinging sound was etched into my brain from childhood, sure, but I did not remember just how overpowering it was, holy smokes. And there are more than that too. Like, I think some of the mission designs kinda stink, but at least they're optional. And these are all minor issues at the end of the day. I only picked up on them in my modern day replay, and I didn't change my stance on the game much at all. But there are much more extreme opinions on it nowadays than mine. Some tried it again and came out the other side absolutely despising the game. And that's okay. Heathens are entitled to their opinions too. But this is still an example of what I mean. Even if my specific case was more mild, there are just some things that we forget or don't realize about a game until we're older. And going back to it now, we realize that it might not have been as perfect as we thought. But those that only talk about these things rather than actually re-experiencing it in recent times might not have that luxury. The rose-tinted glasses could very well be shielding them from the red flags that are sitting in plain sight. However, I want to make it clear here as well that I would not recommend going back to experience something from your younger days with the sole intent of seeing if it's as good as you remember or not. That's a dry-ass way to engage with these things. Engage with them because you want to experience it again, not because you want to make a point. I saw myself falling into this mentality when I started familiarizing myself with Sonic Twitter, and the moment I recognized it, I snapped myself out of it quick time. This is an easy way to suck the passion and enjoyment out of what's supposed to be a relaxing and entertaining time. However, nostalgia is simply a reason, not the only reason. Some people just refuse to give new media their flowers because they don't want to admit that something new might be, dare I say, good. These kinds of people tend to turn into contrarians, guys that just hate what's new, hip, and popular for the sole reason that they're new, hip, and popular. Doesn't help that the specific brand of contrarian that I'm talking about here are also often old head elitists. Always on some, these damn whippersnappers could never create anything as good as E.T. for the Atari 2600. That's that real shit. And I use E.T. as an example specifically, not because I think this specific guy exists. God, I hope not. But because there are a lot of contrarians that'll gas up the dookies of old purely to dunk on newer titles. It's like a double whammy of contrarianism because they're both praising something that's generally unliked and hating something new and mainstream for being new and mainstream. How do these guys function genuinely? Like, why would someone opt to spend their precious time on this earth like this? You don't have to like everything that's new and popular, dog. No genuine person is ever going to. And you also don't have to like those new things over your old ones if that's truly how you feel. But shitting all over what's new for dumb reasons like that? It's gonna close you off to a ton of new experiences that you can make new, wonderful memories with. Remember that what's old now was new at some point, and you were open to trying it then. Why stop now? Embrace the new age and give some new things a try. Don't be scared, gang. I'll even hold your hand. Only baddies though. I am in need. But you see, I've been clowning on the old head elitists for this whole time now. But just as it always seems to be, the other side of the spectrum ain't escaping my wrath either, cause you guys are just as buns. Sometimes the old heads actually have a point, especially in regards to remakes and remasters. So let's flip the coin and start bullying some kids. Hell yeah! Damn, it's actually crazy how often I bring up how two opposing extremes tend to both suck. Strange, ain't it? And on top of that, how their mindsets tend to be essentially the same, but towards opposite actions. Very weird indeed. But anyhow, bullying kids, right? See, just like how the gramps of these communities hate on whatever's new and popular because they refuse to accept that maybe something new can in fact be cool and good. We've also got some more dumbass niggas that think everything that's old sucks ass by default or needs to be replaced with a shiny new version. The idea that just because something is older means that it's worse and outdated is a foolish line of thinking that is unfortunately rather popular as well. And this archetype of human being have some rather typical behavior among them, as you can imagine. Like, many will refuse to engage with old media, or at least accept that they can be good, because the controls or graphics or whatever is outdated in their eyes. Weak. Like the idea that because of old games' more archaic control systems that might be a little less comfortable due to our familiarity with newer ones is weak energy. Do I like some less than the ones now? Absolutely. Some of them can be quite annoying. But does it stop me from playing it? Well, that depends on how much I like the game. But that's not old game exclusive. That's just common sense. Sometimes these games are just older versions of games I played before, whether they're a prequel or a pre-make. So yeah, there might not be some systems I enjoy in the newer games available in these older titles. But that doesn't have to take away from the title itself. I just have to adjust. Like, for example, everybody knows how goated of a game Sonic 3 and Knuckles is. Absolutely beautiful, no notes. And by no notes, I mean Sandopolis Act 2 can eat my nuts. But as you can imagine, being the third, in quotes, game in the mainline series, it innovated on the basis of the games before it, just as Sonic 2 innovated on Sonic 1 before it. And since I fully beat Sonic 3 and Knuckles before I fully beat Sonic 1, going back to beat it felt bizarre without the spin dash, the shield power-ups, and most importantly, you couldn't save! Save slot! I need you, save slot! Even something like the Insta Shield was something I didn't know I'd miss until it was gone. However, that didn't mean I thought the game sucked, cause you know what I did? I adjusted to the gameplay of that game, like it was its own game first or something. And I had a damn good time with it. Still the worst of the classic games to me, but if it's any consolation, I think the Sonic 1 OST is like the third best of the classic games. Okay, that doesn't sound too good like that either. Basically, Sonic 2's OST is the worst, Sonic 1 is 2 tiers above that, and then 3 and Knuckles and CD take the second and first places respectively. It only makes sense that older games don't typically have the new mechanics or fancy new sheen that their successors have. But that doesn't mean the original doesn't have its own value. Does a mother suddenly lose all her beauty just because I'm dating her daughter? No! In fact, I'll date both of them, fuck nigga. Double in fact, sometimes the mother can provide a better, more loving experience than the daughter too. To any future lovers that I may have, please don't look into this. Now to give you an idea of what I mean, let's take a look at some remakes and remasters. Now there are many whippersnappers out there that think, well, the remaster has better graphics and is newer, so it must be the definitive version. The original's simply been replaced. When no brochacho. That ain't 100%. Remakes and remasters tend to be nice by default for at least allowing access to older games on new consoles. And at least they intend to provide a nicer experience than their predecessors. And hey, sometimes they really do sometimes they really do a great job on them. But other times can be a bit, questionable. Ready to hear about more Sonic? You'd better be, Buster, because you're going to be hearing a lot more about him, using Sonic Colors Wii and Sonic Colors Ultimate as a fine example. See, at their core, both games are the same. This is just a remaster after all, so if you play either version, you won't be getting too drastically different of an experience, depending on some things. I'd say the biggest additions in the Ultimate version were the achievements and cosmetics along with the remixed OST. The addition of achievements just made for a nice little goal to aim towards while playing the game, and you can rarely ever go wrong with adding cosmetics. They're optional after all, so if you like the default Sonic look, you can keep the default Sonic look without missing out on anything too crazy. And the remixed OST? Well, I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. I don't think there were any remixes that I liked better than the originals. Planet Wisp especially, but I'm also harder on that since Aquarium Park, Planet Wisp, and Terminal Velocity are among my favorite non-vocal tracks in the entire franchise, never mind just the game. Oh, but you can't forget the addition of the game-breaking bugs too. That's vital to the ultimate experience. I personally only ever encountered 2 bugs myself, and one wasn't even game-breaking. It just kinda inverted the colors of the boss level I was on. The other one just shot me off the stage when I tried to use a drill in Aquarium Park, but like, other people weren't as lucky as I was. And then to go even further, many even consider the game to overall just look worse than the original, mainly in regards to textures and lighting. How that manages to happen, I've got no clue. But actually, in a slight twist of that kind of situation, having what many consider to be worse art direction, lighting, expressions, or mood is actually very common amongst complaints with remakes and remasters. Like with the Yakuza games for example. Look at Yakuza 1 compared to Kiwami 1. Are the graphics better in the remake? Absolutely. That's kinda indisputable. However, many actually do not like the visual direction of this game. And the two most common complaints I see are about how the characters are portrayed visually in this game, most namely Kiryu, because of how stoic they made the expressions, and then others for the lighting and mood in certain scenes. And trust me, lighting and fog being worse in the newer versions of games is gonna be a common trend here. Like, I'm gonna use this video here to showcase a couple examples of the differences in expression between the games. Does it make a huge difference? Not particularly, and some of them are fairly subtle at that. But why have the newer game be more expressionless in the first place? I know our boy Kiryu is quite the rad-ass punk, but he's not made of ice, you know. Though some people also straight up do not like how the game played compared to the original, like with some of the systems they added, or the fact that the combat is basically just Yakuza 0's lifted into this game, but hey, that'll happen. But we can also look at the recent Snake Eater remake as another example. Before the game even came out, I saw people losing their minds over the direction and lighting of this game. No more piss filter, gang. We have to breathe clean air now. But even beyond the piss filter, there was something that I saw that genuinely baffled me. And mind you, I can only speak about this game visually, because I haven't played a single Metal Gear Solid game in my life yet. And it was this screenshot of a funeral scene in the game, and like, my god, I don't think I've ever seen a more in-your-face downgrade before. Now don't get it twisted, the remake still looks great in its own right. I'm sure if I was playing the game, whoever's death this is would hit me pretty much just the same in the moment. But my goodness, visually the old one just hits me with an emotion that the new one simply doesn't, just by looking at it. Something more somber, more quiet about it, you know? That atmosphere got crack in it, dog. And like I mentioned before, there really does seem to be a common issue amongst remasters and remakes when it comes to lighting and fog. For some reason, there tends to be a strong desire to make everything clearer, even when there's no need for it to be, or worse, sullies the atmosphere of the original. Does it completely ruin the game? In all the cases that I've played, no, not at all. But it does lead me to understand why some people may prefer the originals to newer versions of the games that they love. But enough of me yapping with authority about games that I haven't played before. Let's get back to one that I have. Or ones. It's Sonic again. It's Sonic. This time specifically about Sonic Twitter's greatest fear. The models! Ask any Sonic fan what their favorite model is, and you'll get a ton of different answers. I like the adventure model. The Brawl model looks fantastic. Chronicles had them down to a science. Who said that? Who just said that? Now see, the funniest part of this all is that most don't say that their favorite is the modern model. The one that we've been stuck with for nearly 2 whole decades, bruh. That's almost my entire life. Personally, I ain't no avid hater of the modern model. I don't like the revisions they made to it post Forces with the shorter banana quills and all that, but hey, it's alright. But nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to the absolute beauty, the majesty, the aura of the Adventure 2 model. Is this model old as hell? Absolutely. Shit's older than me. Is it worse graphically than the model succeeding it? Yeah, that's typically the standard. But despite its age, I still think the Adventure 2 model got the Sonic characters down perfectly. Like, that nigga looks crisp. And my boy Knuckles had melanin. Hell, Shadow 2, dog, I have no idea why they opted to suddenly give them all the same shade of pale. Some characters just look better with different colors. And none of them is that booty-eye pale, bro. Sometimes older versions of any media just had something down nigh perfectly already. But instead of simply making modern renditions of what they had that worked, maybe with a few touch-ups or quality of life changes in the case of remasters, or recreating a new vision of a previous title while still keeping in mind what made the original beloved, many newer versions of older titles do something that just doesn't hit the same for some. And no, adding in more options is rarely, if ever, the problem, you hoes. If the game allows you to essentially play the original if you set it that way, I don't ever want to see you complaining about people who do use said options to tailor their experience to the way they like to play. I will actually show up at your house and give you a stern talking to, bro. Don't play with me. But all of this is to say that art is subjective, and it doesn't have a life expectancy. Unless if you buy COD or sports games annually. I'll pray for y'all. Something being old doesn't mean that it's bad and needs to be replaced. Just like how something being new doesn't mean that it can never live up to the classics. How the hell do you think classics are made in the first place? Mans that say the games nowadays have no soul are absolutely bizarre. I know your ass just ain't looking around for anything. This year in particular has been an amazing year for games in my eyes, and yet I constantly have to be subjected to niggas that think it's the worst it's ever been, and it'll never live up to the glory days of the past. It got so ridiculous that I even saw some people saying that the 90s and 2000s never had any bad games. Like, my guy, I could just point you to the Wii's discography and read down the list. Shovelware was thriving in this period. I very much want people to be open to playing more old games and not going in with the idea that it'll be worse than the newer one. Just give it a try, gang. Do you think the Final Fantasy games objectively only increased in quality with each entry? No, dog. That's why so many people have different highs and lows for the entire series. They all have their own merit, no matter the age. And on the flip side, and on a bit of a tangent too, hear me out, gang, I beg of old heads to be more open-minded too. In a bizarre twist of fate, I feel like the general gaming sphere has been getting increasingly close-minded compared to, say, well, the 2000s. Why are we moving backwards? Many of them romanticize the times they had back then and think of it to be some golden age. But the common thread that I see amongst a lot of guys that talk like this is that they really just want to spam slurs in the chat. The types that despise the infestation of what they deem to be woke that's plaguing the games of today, and then it's just like a woman protagonist that's not a supermodel. Doubly so if that character's a minority that isn't Asian. May God have mercy on their souls. But when I look at the gaming sphere 20 years ago, were there slur spammers? Absolutely. But no one was bothered by the idea of games having women and minorities in them. It was never seen as people pushing some agenda. It was just playing a game that happened to have different strokes of people in them. It didn't even register as a thought. But with the current despicable climate of rage bait and agenda pushing that we have now, it's all some of these poor souls talk about, day in, day out. I don't even think half of them believe what they're saying anymore. They just see any sort of diversity and see it as an opportunity to grift. And it's exactly this mentality that many have adopted that's closing them off to more games of the new age. Things that wouldn't have even registered as something to think of as weird 20 years ago is now all that they think about. And they push both themselves and others away from these games. They don't care about the quality. As long as it has something that they can whine about, they won't touch it. Why are you becoming weaker and more closed-minded as you age, dog? Aren't you supposed to get wiser as you age? So there are many that think this age of games is the worst it's ever been because they themselves refuse to play any of them. Well, unless if they have a near-naked woman at the helm, because then it's absolute cinema. Such a binary way of thinking. If this game follows my agenda, then it's an untouchable masterpiece. But if it has anything that makes me uncomfortable or goes against my agenda, it's horrendous dog shit that's ruining gaming as we know it. Open your eyes, my nigga. The people you yell about saying they're too touchy and sensitive, that's you now. The ones calling for censorship and boycotts of games? That's you! The ones ruining your enjoyment of games, it ain't the companies, for the most part. That's all you, gang. You'll open the door to many more wonderful games, as well as a more enjoyable community if you can just overcome the short barrier of closed-mindedness that you yourself created. Despite already being on the other side when you started, gang, your thoughts perplex me. Now that was quite a bit of a tangent indeed, and not even only something that applies to old heads, but I just see them to be the most common ones to share this mentality. Just open your mind to more games, more movies, more stories, and I'm sure you'll come out the other end a happier and more vibrant soul. So basically, gang, what I'm trying to say here is, everyone hop on Furry Feet Fantasy, let's go!
How these plain and simple scenes get painted so vividly by you. I just wanna stay with you.
Around the world is rolling days, forever all eyes me. You know you leave me in a trance. It means everything to me looking down below. The one I seek to find, no matter where you might go. Remember you'll be on my mind.
Always watching over me, somehow you make me feel invisible.